Hello and welcome to this guide for some go-to combos and some basic movement for Dante on the Dante Die mode. This is an extended guide for the so-called baseline moveset for Dante I previously made. For the terms I use in this video such as baseline to make sense, please watch the video linked in the description below where I go through the basics. What we're going to do in this video is just elaborate on the basic Dante moveset, and I will show it off here in actual fights. I chose to demonstrate the Dante baseline on mission 13 in particular, because this mission is in my opinion the hardest mission with Dante to keep the style up on and at the same time not die. So first up I'm just gonna elaborate a bit on the launchers and how to initiate the combo. So the first initiator is trick up towards the enemy, jump cancel off the enemy, switch to gunslinger with Kalina and launch the enemy and into the baseline. And here I'm just doing the baseline that I showed in the previous video. It's an infinite air combo. So trick up towards the enemy, jump cancel off the enemy, Kalina and gunslinger, launch the enemy in the air into the baseline. The second initiator is I launch the enemy with Sword Dante, follow it, the enemy up. Then I throw a rose and trick towards the enemy into the baseline. Or trick up towards the enemy, I mean. So throw a rose, trick up into the basement. The third initiator that you won't see me use that often, but it's pretty cool to do, is back plus attack button with King Cerebus, and then you launch the enemy and then you trick up towards the enemy, like you're gonna see here now. So launch the enemy with King Cerebus and trick up towards the enemy into the baseline combo. And here I'm gonna show the Rose launcher and the King Cerebus launcher in an actual sequence. The least risky launcher, and the launcher you're gonna see me use the most, is the trick up towards the enemy, jump cancel off it, and use the Kalina and gunslinger. Because you stay in the air that way. And since you jump cancel in the infinite air combo, you can just move around on the battlefield like that. And you won't ever have to touch the ground. The next thing we're gonna elaborate on is how to fight multiple enemies and how to navigate the battlefield safely. So here is a crazy sequence with some devil triggered riots. And as you're gonna see here, they're gonna group up underneath me now. So instead of the high side, I do the braking with the Cavaliere, and when I touch the ground, I initiate Devil Trigger and use the motorcycle charge with the Swordmaster to hit multiple enemies at the same time and build a lot of style. And here I'm gonna combine the movement part of the baseline with fighting multiple enemies, just to show you how it actually looks when you fight. So you see here I'm combining the baseline movement with Trickster and the motorcycle charge, just to control the situation. You see I'm teleporting around now to isolate one enemy, and since they devil trigger, it's hard to launch them. So I make sure they are in a group like you just saw there, and then I do the motorcycle charge, and then I just combine the Trickster movement here. Yeah, I tried to launch one Antinora into the baseline. And I kind of failed to execute the baseline there, but since I am in the air, I just switched to Gunslinger and launched an enemy again and continue to be in the air. Then I just use Trickster to evade when I come down. Another good area effect attack for building style is the Cascade with Kalina. So what I do is that when I am in a group of enemies, I jump and do the inverted air hike to get out with Trickster, and then I just fire the Cascade into a group of the enemies. And then I just continue as usual with the baseline. And here, as you see, I'm using both the Cascade and the motorcycle charge in one sequence to mix it up and build style that way. And here I'm gonna do the cascade in a bit more crazy fight with some devil triggered chaoses. So they're grouping up now, so I do the inverted air hack to get out, and I probably should have switched target here, but it still works and got me up to a triple S. Yet another area of effect attack you can do that is more of a safe strat is the devil triggered stinger with Devil Sword Dante. I'm failing to execute the baseline here, my timing is off, and I landed in a very bad position there, as you just saw, with some devil triggered riots and a nobody. So I initiate devil trigger and stinger out with Devil Sword Dante, just to isolate one enemy. And here's the same sequence again, but as you can see, I'm gonna fail the baseline a second time when I stinger out. So I break the baseline combo with the breaking instead of the high side, as you're seeing here now. And then into a group of enemies. And I keep the combo and I keep building style, even though I failed the baseline 2 times there. Here is another sequence where I failed to execute the baseline and stinger out. So right here I mistimed the Kalina and launch. Another good thing about the motorcycle charge is that it tends to isolate the enemy you have locked onto. And what you can do there is do the finisher part of the baseline I showed in the previous video, which is just punching with Balrog until you ignite and then use the dragon punch. As you can see here now, I use the motorcycle charge. And they're isolated, even though the chaos had devil triggered, it still gets knocked down and knocked away with the motorcycle charge, and I can just finish the isolated enemy off with the dragon punch and ignite. One problem though, as I touched on briefly in the previous video, is the lock-on system in this game. As you just saw, I tried to do the baseline with the initiation rows there, but it locked onto something else and I lost the sequence. So what I do there, I'm prepared that can happen. It doesn't happen that often, but it happens from time to time. And what I do then is I don't try to save it. I just, when I come down, I just trickster around, and then I go back into the trick up and to the enemy and do the gunslinger Kalina and launch the enemy and try to continue the baseline sequence that way. Next up, I'm just gonna show everything we just learned and how it plays out in some actual sequences here without it being broken down. As you can see here, I land in a bad spot, so I do the devil trigger to get out, the devil trigger stinger, and then I see a perfect opportunity to do a drive and get the triple S, and then I continue the multiple enemies baseline there with the motorcycle, and here I launch with the King Cerebus, and then I come down again in a bad spot and I use the stinger. Now I'm just teleporting around trying to isolate an enemy. There, try to get him up with the launch. I kind of failed, so I do the braking instead of the high side into the motorcycle charge, trying to launch here again, but the enemy devil trigger, so it's kind of hard to launch the enemy. And there I finally launched him again with the Kalina trick up initiation into the baseline here. And here I'm gonna do a little bit, just gonna combine the cascade here with the baseline. I charge into a group of enemies. I isolate one, initiate with the jump plus gunslinger Kalina into the baseline here. Then I'm just going to continue the baseline sequence here. I use the slashes with the King Cerebus here just to get at the same vertical height as the enemy. And I just continue the baseline. Then I finish the enemy off with the motorcycle charge. And here I'm doing a double trigger stinger drive into a group of enemies, and then a double trigger stinger again. And then I just mix up some Cavaliere attacks here. And then I isolated one, so I start punching, but the other enemies grouped up around, so I trickster out with the inverted air hike. And then I trickster out again and do the Kalina cascade. And here I isolate one enemy with the motorcycle charge, punch up with the ignite, and then into the Shoryuken. Here's just the standard baseline, keeping the enemy in the air. I come down in a bad spot. There's a group of them, so I trickster out with the inverted air hike and do a Kalina cascade into